Welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. We are here at Behind the Scenes today with our guest, Kate Basset, and we are talking about why we love working with teens. And I think it's just really important that we every so often put a positive spin on teenagers and what we just, what makes our day when we spend time with them. So, Kate Basset is the founder and artistic director of Buffalo Girl Choir and the mother of a teenager. She has taught in elementary, middle, and high schools in Indiana, Ohio, and New York, and she loves making music with teenagers. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what just your choir, your teen choir, how big it is, what you do there.
Sure. So when I started Buffalo Girl Choir, I wanted to have a sort of like a junior division and a senior division, so younger kids and older kids. And oftentimes older kids have difficulty jumping into something new that they don't know a lot about and that they haven't grown up with. So I really didn't start with any older kids. I only had younger kids. And as these girls have grown up with me, I've just continued to expand the program to give them that space to grow up and to give them the ensemble that they're growing into. And so now just this year, this is our 8th year in Buffalo Girl Choir, and this was the first year for our high school group. And so now we have about 15 to 18 singers in our high school group. I would say about 60% of them have been in it since they were 7 years old, and now they're 14. But there's a decent number of newer singers as well. And so it's just kind of that, kids have this, teenagers in particular, I'm not going to really put myself out there into a new thing. Unless I know my friends are doing it. And so now these girls who have grown up in Buffalo Girl Choir are saying to their friends in high school, hey, come join this choir with me. And it's an already existing thing that friends are doing. And so now they're coming to that. And it's really great. I've gotten to see these girls grow up from the time they were in 2nd grade, and now they're in 9th grade and 10th grade. And it's just, I feel so privileged to have gotten a bird's eye view into their lives all these years, and to continue to have that bird's eye view.
Franziska, can I ask Kate a question?
Please go ahead, right? It's a conversation, not an interview.
Okay. So, Kate, I was thinking about how you're in an unusual position where you're getting the same kids for so many years. And there's this kind of like sentiment out there, like wait till they're teenagers. So do you find a big change when they get to you and they're going into adolescence, that like attitude and changes that are complicated, or do you already have enough of a relationship?
I think I already have enough of a relationship. The trickier years are actually 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Those are that's really those are the tricky years. And you just, I'm just walking alongside them. I have, I'm not their parent, so I don't have to, I don't have to be that person. I can just walk alongside them and, nod when they tell me things, and I can think, well, I kind of agree with your mom on that one, but I don't have to say it out loud. And but it's nice, just it's kind of a safe space for them. It's a place where they can go and be themselves without a lot of judgment, and just do what they love to do. It's really nice.
I will just say, as a non-parent, I kind of do understand and appreciate the, like, when you're not the parent, it's much easier to, because I worked actually at a front desk at a dance studio for a couple of years, and a lot of kids, a couple of teenagers, and just sometimes teenagers are just very fun and funny to talk to. Yeah. But as long as I don't have to be the one laying down the law,
yeah,
it does help that I apparently look 16, because they're like, yes, my mom has this like thing to prevent me from going on these apps, but here's how I get around it. I'm like, I guess I can't. I just have to not tell your mom, but not that I'm ever going to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
funny.
they do. They have that level of comfort with you. And, when I was teaching at an all girls high school prior to starting Buffalo Girl Choir, they had that same kind of comfortability with me where they could say, well, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I'm doing this. And then, just file that away for when my kid's a teenager. And so, um, yeah, it's interesting that they will share things with you sometimes that
Most definitely that the parents don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
And Kate, I coached lacrosse, girls high school lacrosse for a number of years, and one of the things I loved, because we would see the same girls too year after year, was to see the development in some girls like that, right? Come in as a freshman, and I can think of one in particular that I was like, oh boy, this is kind of going to be trouble. Like she's a chatter. Wow, she turned out to be such a leader, and I loved seeing how they develop. And it was a great, I don't know how you feel, but it was a great message to me of don't judge so early. Like already I had this girl pegged as she's going to be a problem. And man, she turned out to be the exact opposite. So, but it was fun to see. It was, and she certainly needed, a little direction here and there, but I'm sure you see that too. I think that's one of the blessings of working with teenagers that are not your own, right? That are not your own.
Yes, absolutely. You can looking at that development and remembering how awkward and gangly they were for a while. And even some of these girls who I've known since they were in second grade, I can look at the younger girls in girl choir now and be like, okay, you're going to turn into a so-and-so, you're going to turn into a Jane, and you're going to turn into a whatever. And it gives me patience with those younger girls that, okay, but look at how these same traits developed in these other singers. And and it's amazing. So, and they come up with, we so often sell kids short on their perceptions of the world and their engagement with the world. And they come up with so many things that are just, so insightful and sometimes off the wall and creative and all of these things. And it's just really, it's just a privilege to be able to be with them. And like I said, just walk beside them on their journey into adulthood. I tell the parents all the time, I'm just so thrilled to be.
Kate, I love the perspective you just gave. I'm pretty sure it was Wendy Mogul who would talk about like teenage daughters and sons and try to put them in the space of being like a cousin visiting from Europe, which is exactly what you are in the room of not being the parent. And when the personal insult of your kid isn't there, you can see so much potential, right? Like, and what takes us down, I think, as parents, is, at least for me also, is like it felt personal when they said no or they disobeyed or whatever other language you want to use. It felt so personal. But for you, when you're in the room with these kids, it's kind of charming, right? Like seeing this developmental testing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have occasionally said, oh, well, your mom's a person too. So, just, just, maybe use nicer words than that, and or something like that. But only if we're having, a real frank, off the cuff discussion. And so it's just, they're so interesting, and they're just kind of coming to terms with the world and the way that they are, that they perceive things is like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have looked at it that way, especially with all of the, social justice issues and all of that. They're so on the cusp of all of these changes, and make sure you're using the right pronouns and all of these things that they are so deeply aware of, that are just sort of in our orbit. We didn't grow up with that. And having these discussions with kids who are growing up with all of this stuff, and it brings it. I feel like I'm more current and I'm more in the world because I am working with these kids. They're keeping me authentic, and they're keeping me accountable for learning and growing and accepting. And I love that about working with these teenagers, is that, I'm not going to turn into this, crotchety old lady. At least I hope not. And they're going to keep me young. I like
And
it.
I also found, Kate, I don't know if you find this too, is they accept things. Like, it's the things we might find are a big issue. It is so not to them, and it's even the changes you were saying that we're going through. It's just whether it's pronouns or who someone's dating or not dating, but to them, it's so not an issue. And I love that, because it is, hey, this is the way it is. This is the way she is. And again, I felt the same way, that I got educated all the time and learned that, you know what, it's not a big deal for them. Like, they don't care. They're just not influenced by that stuff. And it's a bit of a gift, maybe because teenagers are also so wrapped up in themselves. That's you, fine, you're fine, I don't care. But it really is. See, now I just retired from coaching in May, and now you're making me feel like I want to go back. So, I don't know if this is a good thing.
Well, I'd like to do a shout out to Mindy and Kate and other people out there who take on a role, because you get to fill in, for parents who don't always get to see that. So, how there's that thing about how many adults need to be part of your child's life, and you don't get to parent alone, and you hope that the adults around your kids really are helping steer them, guide them in that direction. So I think it's really important that there are other adults in their lives, and you guys are two of them that probably have been very important to the girls you've mentored and coached. And that's huge. It's like having another adult with you on your journey. Because sometimes as parents, we feel like we're doing it completely alone. And so, like, our daughters did their after school activities, but then they also were in the youth group at church. So they had another set of eyes and another adult to help them. And
your husband too. Your husband coached, and he coached what Kate was saying, those middle schoolers, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's so funny, because now these middle schoolers are in their late 20s, and when they see him, they still call him. They're like, "Hi, coach," and they met him when they were in 6th grade, and they still call him coach. And my husband played lacrosse, and he's in his 50s, and he ran into his lacrosse coach and still calls him coach.
Yeah. And so everyone should make sure to thank the people in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
I knew that I only knew this when I had a kid who played football, and that coach changed the lives of so many kids, like whole heart in for these kids. And it made such a difference in their lives. So make sure you thank the people like Kate and Mindy who are helping raise our kids with us. Thanks, Eka, for pointing that out. Kate, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And everyone have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.